This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review, and what I'm looking at today is 2015's Childhood End, which was a three-part series on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I should say that I'm not a huge Arthur C. Clarke fan, just as I'm also not a huge Isaac Asimov fan, so I don't recall reading much of his work. Though I know that he wrote the story that became Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. He wrote Childhood's End, as well as Rendezvous with Rama, which is coming up, I believe, as a movie produced by Morgan Freeman and directed by Denis Villeneuve. So I'm familiar with Arthur C. Clarke, though as I said, I haven't read any of his work. And having seen Childhood End, and having seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, I'm hoping that the filmmakers made a lot of shortcuts when making this, because it's not terrible. In fact, visually speaking, it looks pretty damn good, especially for something produced for television. It has a lot of big-name stars, such as Colm Meaney, among others, and it looks really good. Nick Herron, who I'm unfamiliar with before this, has a very good eye, and it's a well-produced, well-shot series. And it only lasts 3 episodes, as I said. But the problem with that is it felt a lot longer. Now keep in mind, I've been known to binge 6-episode series in a day. This lasted only 3 episodes, and I think it took me maybe a week, maybe 2 to get through it. And part of that is because it's just so predictable. Though to its benefit, it actually makes me want to read Childhood End, because something has to be missing. I refuse to accept that Arthur C. Clarke wrote something as derivative as this. What it revolves around are aliens who come to Earth, and with their aid, they make Earth into a paradise. There's food for everyone. No one wants anything, but it's a bargain of sorts they enter into. So humanity essentially dies. Now, I have nothing against the concept in and of itself. In fact, I think the concept is interesting. But the problem is in the execution. And this movie is so badly executed. For instance, the aliens look like Satan. They literally look like the devil. Now, prior to even learning that fact, I thought to myself, what if these aliens look like the devil? I kid you not. It literally popped in my head, not having read the story this is based on. Though, having understand how drama works, and how television works, it seemed like a very logical place for it to go, and lo and behold, that's where it goes. But, you see, now here's the problem. The narrative of the 3-part series isn't that these things that look like Satan are evil. Apparently they're not. They just look that way. And then it brings the question to mind why they look that way. Now keep in mind, this could be accurate to the story Childhood End. I don't know. But based upon the miniseries, it makes no sense. Because, as I said, these entities are not devils. They look like the devil, implying that maybe they had visited Earth at certain times, and we adapted our interpretation of Satan from them. Okay, that's fine. But the problem with that is that, as I said, these entities are not evil. They just look that way. Which leads to my question, why do they look that way? As the narrative of the miniseries proceeds, we come to learn that they're almost like automatons, in the sense that apparently they're not robots, but they exist for one purpose, and there's a higher power, implying God? I don't know. controlling their movements and what they do. So they eventually take our children. But the story doesn't tell us why they take our children. It says that they do for reasons, which makes me really want to read the book this is based on, because I'm praying that Arthur C. Clarke actually explains why it happens. Though in the miniseries, there's no explanation given. They just want our children. And on top of that, they take away the ability of humans to reproduce. And it leads to the question, a familiar one at this point, why do they do that? It's not that I have an issue with the narrative proceeding in the fashion that it proceeded in. But the thing is, the story as presented doesn't give you any explanation, that I noted at any rate, why things were happening. Things were just happening because movie based on book. And that's not enough reason for things to be happening. You have to have clarity of purpose when you're adapting a book. And it has to make sense. I didn't understand why anything was happening. Now keep in mind something. I did say I watched this over a week because it wasn't that engaging, frankly. But I watched over a long enough period of time that any explanation given would have registered with me, and nothing did. This is really bad filmmaking from a writing perspective. It's just badly written. And it confuses me because I find the Twilight Zone-esque nature of it interesting. And there are ways that it could have been fixed. Once again, I have to repeat, I did not read Arthur C. Clarke's story, so I don't know what his intention was, nor how he depicted these creatures. But make them actual demons. Just make them demons. That way, when you have a character, a child in fact, saying that they dreamt of a world very evocative of hell, it makes sense. It has a context because of the devil. Otherwise, things appear very random and very odd. And that's my biggest problem with Childhood's End as an adaptation. It feels very random. And the producers of it didn't capture why it was happening. Childhood's End is currently on Tubi, and it's worth watching. It's, once again, not badly produced. And in fact, it's gorgeous. It's well shot. The actors do their jobs well, and it's interesting. But it has so many holes, plot-wise, that it's really unsatisfying. And that's my criticism of it. It is a very unsatisfying watch. It's not bad, it's not badly shot, it's not badly acted. It's just written in such a way that it's just unsatisfying. That perhaps is the greatest insult I could give him. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.